Karl Anthony Towns is reminding everybody why he should be considered as one of the best bigs in the NBA. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel once again. And the play of Karl Anthony Towns as of late, it got me to think about Jokic. It got me to think about Embiid. Now, of course, Embiid hasn't even played a game yet this season. But when we're talking about the best bigs in the league, Jokic and Embiid are automatically at the front of the line. You got Jokic, who won 3 of the last 4 MVPs. It's insane. And the only reason why he didn't get 4 in a row was because of the other guy, Embiid. But when you talk about the skills, when you talk about the intangibles of those two players, why isn't Karl Anthony Towns a part of that conversation? Because Karl Anthony Towns has the same skills as a Jokic, as an Embiid, where the three-point shot, all 3 of them have it. The ball handling skills, all 3 of them have it. The post-up moves, all 3 of them have it. Now, depending on what area of the game that we're talking about, there may be a specific skill that one player might be a lot better than others. The first one that I'm thinking about, I just mentioned, the ball handling. As far as ball handling, I think Jokic is at the bottom of that list, where Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns are at the head of the line. But if we're talking about playmaking, I think Jokic is the number one in that category, and then Embiid might be the last one. So it's a very interesting conversation to throw KAT in when you're talking about the best bigs in the league. But I broke it down to 2 simple aspects of the game. The first one is very simple. The very first one, we're talking about skills. Now, I briefly mentioned it already. We're talking ball handling. We're talking shot making. That talking post-up moves. We're talking footwork. We're talking playmaking ability. And if we're just going to throw that out there, all 3 of them have that skill. But if you break it down more specifically for KAT, let's look at the game that he had in Atlanta. In Atlanta, he finished the game with 34 points, 16 rebounds. He was 11 of 23 from the field, which equates to 47.8%. 3-pointers, he was 5 of 9, which equates to 55.6%. The 3-pointers, again, for a big man. Now, in today's NBA landscape, this is definitely something that the bigs should be doing. But if we take a step back, a 7-footer being able to hit a 3-point shot once upon a time was looked at as unbelievable. It was looked at as a player being a unicorn. And the 3-point shot is part of Karl Anthony Towns' repertoire. I feel like in today's NBA landscape, with all the talking head shows and they're throwing out stats, they're throwing out numbers, like I feel like it's expected for a big man to hit threes. And sometimes we kind of lose sight of like how special that is for a big man who's 7 foot to have the touch, to have the ability to step behind the line and shoot a 3-pointer. So that was on Wednesday's game. Monday, Houston, he has 17 points, 19 rebounds. He was 7 of 17 from the field, which equates to 41.2%. He didn't hit any of his 3-pointers, but the rebounds, 19 points. He's multifaceted. The more recent game he had, where we just destroyed the Milwaukee Bucks, he ended the game with 32 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 12 of 20 from the floor, which is 60%, 4 of 8 from the 3-point line, which is 50%. For the month of November, he's averaging 26 points, 14 rebounds, 3.3 assists. He is averaging 9.5 field goals made, and that is on 19.5 field goals attempted, which equates to 48.7%. 3-pointers, he is averaging 3 3-pointers made on 6 3-points attempted, which equates to 48%. Now, all of those numbers that I threw out at you, what does it really mean? What are you going to be comparing it to? And since Joel Embiid obviously hasn't played a game this season, the only other player that we can only talk about Jokic. Now, Jokic has been in an absolute ridiculous tear as of late. The more recent game that he had was against Miami. The guy ended with 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 14 assists. That's triple-double number 1. The game prior to that against OKC, 23 points, 20 rebounds, 16 assists, triple-double number 2. The game prior to that was Toronto, 28 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, triple-double number 3. And then the game prior to that, he missed a triple-double by 1 assist, 27, 16, and 9. Like, Jokic is insane. The game against Miami, he was 11 of 13, 84.6%. The three-pointers, the volume of three-point shooting compared to KAT is very, very much lower. But again, it's the ability to make that shot. That game against Miami, he took one three-point shot. He made it. The game prior to that against OKC, he only took three-point shots, but he made one out of those three. The game against Toronto, he took 5, and he made 1 out of the 5. The game against Utah, he took 4, where he made 3 out of the 4. So again, it's the ability of Jokic to be able to hit the shot behind the three-point line. It's the ability specifically with Jokic to make his teammates better around him. Back in the day, before the three-point revolution, when you're talking about triple doubles, that was essentially coming from point guards or shooting guards. The more recent example I can think of is Russell Westbrook's historic MVP season where he averaged a triple-double. That was a point guard. And that was because the point guard had the ball in his hands most of the time, where he was going to be able to dictate the pace of the game. He was going to be able to dictate the flow of the game. That's another essential that Jokic has in his repertoire that just makes him an absolute special magician of a player. Now, Jokic's playmaking ability is better than KAT's, but then you can make the argument that Jokic right now is in a position where he has to be a playmaker on his team, which it might be putting that much more pressure. It might be putting that much more responsibility on his shoulders, but he has the ability to doing that. So a 7-footer being able to step behind the three-point line and being able to hit that three-point shot, but in Jokic's case, being able to play make. Again, the triple-double numbers that I threw out at you, 30, 11, and 14 assists, 23, 20, and 16 assists, 28, 14, and 13 assists. Like, this guy and his feeling for the game is unmatched. Whereas KAT, in that area of the game, his playmaking ability, I feel like it's undervalued and is not talked about enough. Now, you can bring up the argument where KAT is in a position where he has better players around him this season, which is why his assist numbers aren't as high. If we're going back to KAT's numbers, the more recent game against Milwaukee, he ended with 5 assists. The game prior to that was Atlanta, 1 assist. Houston, he had no assists, which is a little interesting. But the game prior to that was Detroit, where he had 7 assists. So again, just the ability of a big man being able to step behind the three-point line, but having the ability to play make for others is something that we really should marvel at. Now, even though this guy hasn't played one game this season, we still got to talk about Embiid. So since he hasn't played one game this season, I can only talk about his numbers for last season. Last season, he ended averaging 34.7 points, 11 rebounds, and 5.6 assists. He only played in 39 games last season. That's the regular season, because he ended up, I believe it was in January or February, in Golden State. He just messed up his knee pretty bad, tore his meniscus. He had surgery, and he didn't come back until basically the playoffs. But again, if we're talking about skills, he averaged 11.5 field goals made, and that is on 22 shots, which equates to 53%. Three-pointers, he averaged 1.5 three-pointers made on 3.5 three-point shots attempted, which equates to 39%. 39% for a big man for a three-point shot. Not even just for a big man, just an NBA player, 39% you're looked at as a decent or a good three-point shooter. So Joel Embiid has that ability in his repertoire. And again, if you're talking about bigs in the league, Joel Embiid and Jokic are 1 and 2 or 1A, 1B, however you want to look at it. But I feel like KAT deserves to be in the conversation. Last season, Joel Embiid averaged 5.6 assists for the season. So he has that ability to play make for himself and others. But Joel Embiid is an interesting case because he has good teammates around him. The only problem with Joel Embiid is that he's just injury prone. So, and when he's in, like, the offense runs through him, so he could get a bucket at any opportunity he wants to. But I feel like if Joel Embiid really took it upon himself to develop and make his playmaking ability better, I feel like we would see his assist numbers go up. If you really focused on it, I feel like Joel Embiid would really surprise people. The only reason why his playmaking ability isn't really talked about is because he doesn't really have to do it. Does he have the talent and does he have the ability to do it? I believe so, but the position that he's in, I don't really think that it really gives him that opportunity to do so. Joel Embiid is such an interesting case because if we're just focusing on the criteria that I've been talking about this whole time, focusing on just skills, Joel Embiid would be my number one pick and KAT would be right behind him. The reason why Jokic is third is because one thing that separates KAT and Embiid from Jokic is a skill that in today's NBA landscape, I think everybody has to have ball handling. Jokic's ball handling compared to KAT and Embiid's is not as strong. You see Embiid doing a hezzy pull up at the top of the key. Embiid with the 3-point shot. Embiid with the footwork. Embiid with the post up moves. You can say the same thing for KAT. KAT has the ability to do a little hezzy move at the top of the key. KAT has the ability to blow by you. KAT has the ability to shoot behind the 3-point line. Jokic has everything that I just mentioned, but his ball handling skills, I don't think it's up to par. Now that I'm thinking about it and I'm having kind of like a stream of consciousness, Jokic's ball handling skills, maybe he does have it, but maybe we see it in a different way. Jokic, if I'm thinking about it right now, like when we see Jokic, when he puts the ball on the floor, he's automatically looking to back his defender down. He could be close to the 3-point line and he gets the ball and he's just putting his back against his opponent. Where you see Embiid and KAT, they face up. And if they try and blow by you, their back is nowhere near against their defender. They're just trying to blow by you. Besides skills, the only other criteria that I'm looking at is something that Joel Embiid actually has had a hard time with, and I'm talking about availability. Now, if you take a look about the amount of games that each player has played since they started in the NBA, the first person, we're looking at Joel Embiid. So if you take a look back all the way to his rookie season in 2016, 2017, 31 games, 63, 64, 51, 51, 68, 66. Last season, 39 games, like I said earlier, with that meniscus tear. Prior to last season, he played 66, 68, 51, 51, 64, and 63, which it's not that bad. But his rookie season, 31 games. But if you remember, he missed an entire season before he actually played in that 2016-2017 season. So that'll be the 2015-2016 season where that was supposed to be his rookie year. He didn't even play. He basically just redshirted because of what? Because of an injury. The second player I want to take a look at, look at Jokic. Jokic's rookie season, he played 81 games, and then moving forward from there, 73, 75, 80, 73, 72, 74, 69, 79, and then this season, it's only been 9 games so far. So Jokic's his availability has been superb, has been tremendous. And as far as between Embiid and Jokic right now, obviously the advantage goes to Jokic. And for the last player, of course, we're going to be talking about KAT. His rookie season, 2015, 2016, we're looking at 82 games and then 82 and then 82. His first 3 years, he played all 82 games. Tremendous. Fourth year, 77 games. Amazing. Fifth year, this is where we see the numbers start to drop. Fifth year, we start at 35 games. Sixth year, 50 games. Seventh year, 74. Eighth year, 29. Ninth year, 62. In this season, so far, he's only played in 7 games. So KAT started off very, very strong, but as you can see by the numbers, like they started to go down little by little as each season went along. I feel like availability has become such a focus in today's NBA media, and because of Joel Embiid, because of a Kawhi Leonard, because your best player not being able to be out there on the floor. Like, he could have all the skills, he could have all the talent in the world, but if he's just not available, then how much can you rely on him? Look at Kawhi Leonard, last 4 years, 5 years with the Clippers. Like, the Clippers brought Kawhi to LA to get a championship, and he was not even able to play in most of the games. I don't want to say he wasn't able to play in most of the games, but he wasn't available for a lot of his tenure with the Clippers. Joel Embiid, ever since his rookie year, like, we just looked at the numbers, like, it's just very up in the air, and these players are supposed to be your best player. Your best player back in the day was looked at somebody that is going to be on the floor every single night, showcasing his talent. And by showcasing his talent, it's going to give you the advantage over the other team coming to your home court and getting that W. So availability has been brought into the limelight a lot more as of recent because of the likes of Kawhi and Joel Embiid, but it's true, man. Availability, it sounds so corny and it sounds so cliche, but availability is the best ability. Now, before I wrap up the video, I'm just going to say that this season is going to be very interesting to see how people talk about KAT, because if he keeps playing the way he's been playing all the way up until the playoffs, and through the playoffs, he finally puts all the pieces together and we see him make the right play. We see his basketball IQ raise up. I feel like the name around KAT's name is going to be a lot more respected than it is right now. So if his name is more respected, where does that leave him in the conversation of the best bigs? I just gave a whole spiel talking about why I think KAT deserves to be in the conversation. I just gave a whole spiel talking about his skills compared to Embiid and Jokic. The only difference that the separator between Jokic and Embiid with KAT right now, in my opinion, is winning. Jokic, 3 out of the last 4 MVPs. He has a championship. He has a finals MVP. Embiid has an MVP. He doesn't have any finals appearance. He doesn't have a finals MVP. He doesn't have a championship. But compared to KAT, when Embiid has been out there, Embiid has more playoff appearances. Embiid has the better numbers in the playoffs. KAT hasn't been to the playoffs as much as either of the other two men. But this season, I feel like KAT could really turn it around. Again, depending on how he plays for the remainder of the regular season, depending on how he plays in the playoffs and his numbers and how aggressive he is and how he's showcasing his skills and his talent a lot. I don't want to make this bold proclamation, but KAT could really turn it around, man. And a lot is depending on how he plays this season. A new market. This is his first team away from Minnesota. We understand that, all of us as Knicks fans. But KAT, we are depending on you to come through. Jalen Brunson, the beginning of this season has been very, not shaky. It's just been a slow start for Brunson. But we fully expect Brunson to bounce back. And we are just very anxious, and we're excited to see how this Brunson and KAT duo in the playoffs is going to look like. Because if everything turns out well, everybody comes back from injury, Mitchell Robinson, OG doesn't get hurt, if everything falls into place, like the Knicks, we have a good chance of competing against the Boston Celtics. Even though the Cleveland Cavaliers are 10-0 right now, just like in the live. If you guys tuned into the live, that deserves a hand wave. I'm not really worried about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now, I think the main focus is the Boston Celtics. And I think that if everything falls into place, I think we have a really good chance of competing with the Boston Celtics. So we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to make this video because KAT's play as of late has impressed me. And it's only been barely a handful of examples that I can point to. But within those examples, stuff that really stood out to me is what I talked about in this video. And I just wanted to, I guess, raise the awareness of KAT. So if you watch this video, guys, please leave a comment. Hit that thumbs up first and foremost, but also leave it in the comments and leave your guys' thought. And let me know what you guys think about comparing KAT to Jokic and Embiid. And I'm not talking about their accolades. I'm not talking about their accomplishments. I'm talking about specifically their skills and availability. The skills, compare KAT's skills with Jokic and Embiid. Why isn't KAT in the conversation? Availability, I just gave you the amount of games that they played. All 3 of them have played since the rookie season. I feel like KAT's name deserves a little bit more respect. So just wanted to give you my thoughts. But guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. You guys know the drill. You know the vibes. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. The deuce is loose. Deuce also for co-MVP. Taj Gibson for president, even though you are not a Knickerbocker anymore. Mikal Bridges for defensive player of the year. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.